fight versus Lamont Roach this Saturday, and also the Roachl Matias versus Vallenzuela, Gabriel Vallenzuela, Roachl Matias. This they're fighting on the same date, March 1st. The good thing about it is that we will be able to see both fights. You just got to go back and forth with the channels. So in Puerto Rico, the fight is going to start at 7 with Roachl Matias versus Valenzuela, and it's going to be Puerto Rico versus Mexico. And Tank Davis fight is going to start at 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. But the prelims are going to start around 6 p.m. But you know, the main event around the main card is going to start at 10 p.m. So it's 79.99, which that's crazy. Like it's just too expensive nowadays. But um yeah, I'll be watching the fights, but I'm not going to be watching it that way. I'm going to be watching it the smarter way. So anyway, I just want everybody to tune into these fights and tell me what you think about the Roachl Matias versus Valenzuela fight. Is It's a title eliminator. I think it's his fourth title eliminator or his third, and he is gonna be fighting Valenzuela for the number one spot for the title for the title eliminator in the IBF. And the IBF actually chose all the title eliminators that Roachl Matias had in his career to win the championship the first time and the second time. So he didn't choose his opponent. All the opponents that were chosen by the IBF, and Dadashev was chosen by the IBF. Uh, Bukambaya was chosen by the IBF when it was a title eliminator for Roachl Matias, and the first time that he went for the title. And now again, the IBF is choosing the rival Mexican versus Puerto Rico rival Gabriel Valenzuela, which is going to be at 7 p.m. The card will start, and it's going to be in Puerto Rico in Roachl Matias' hometown. I believe that there's going to be a good fight. It's going to be intense because Mexico versus Puerto Rico always promises and never seems to dissatisfy the hardcore boxing fans. And it's going to be a really really good fight. And as far as Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach, I feel, you know, the guy seems like he has boxing skills. He's 25-1 with 12 knockouts. Doesn't have much power, but I guess it's basically making a comparison to, like, if he was to fight Shakur Stevenson. That I'm not gonna compare Lamont Roach to Shakur Stevenson, but he looks like he can box pretty good, and he looks like he's fast. But I never seen him actually fight, and I never really heard of him. I know somebody in my family that's actually betting on the fight, and they're gonna bet $1,000 on Tank Davis, and I think it's a smart bet because I just feel like Tank Davis right now, he's just choosing his opponents. I'm not saying that the opponent that he's fighting, you know, is a slouch, but I don't think he poses a threat to Tank Davis. I think if Tank Davis takes him serious, and which I think he is, and focuses on the task at hand, I think he will knock him out, because I feel like if you don't have enough skills, like somebody like Shakur Stevenson, to throw off Tank Davis and power, those two different factors could determine how Tank Davis can beat you, because Tank Davis is a really good boxer too, and he's not just a power puncher, but he's also a really intelligent as far as boxing ability. Like, he's like, I don't know, I don't think that he has enough to beat. I don't think Lamont Roach has enough to beat Tank Davis. I think based on Shakur Stevenson's last performance against Berenchik, no, what was it? No, not Barrett. Was it Berenchik? Shakur Stevenson. No. He fought what was that replacement guy that he fought because Schofield couldn't make it. He fought a replacement opponent which was an undefeated fighter. I don't know his name. If anybody can help me, give me the name, because he was just a last minute replacement, and he gave a good account of himself. But Shakur Stevenson did what he had to do. He did enough to stop him and knocked him down a couple of times, and I feel like that was a really impressive win for Shakur Stevenson. But at the same time, is do we think that Shakur Stevenson, that version of Shakur Stevenson that we saw against that replacement for Schofield, because Schofield backed out because he was sick, supposedly. Do you think that version of Shakur Stevenson beats Tank Davis? Like, I truly believe that Tank Davis is a special fighter, and so is Shakur Stevenson. Like, Shakur Stevenson's a master defensive wizard, and he throws he's throwing more combination, and he's not the most powerful, but he can he can hurt you, or he could knock you down, but I don't think he has enough to hurt Tank Davis. But I think he's really good at fighting in the pocket, and he can stand right in front of you and still make you miss. But if he's not gonna make Tank Davis miss every single shot. Like, I know that eventually one shot is gonna get in, and I'm thinking, if Tank Davis lands a money shot on Shakur Stevenson, will Shakur Stevenson be able to take that shot? That is the thing that I don't really know. Like, that I have my doubts. Because Tank Davis is not only a power puncher, but he's also a skillful boxer as well. A combination, so that makes me think that he's not gonna overwhelm Shakur Stevenson because he doesn't throw a lot of combinations. But if he lands a power punch that's clean on Shakur Stevenson, will he hurt Shakur Stevenson? Be able to negate a lot of his power by fighting in angles and taking away the power by, like, the way he's a master in the ring. Shakur Stevenson, he's a master at defense, and I would give him the edge as far as the boxing ability. But does he have enough to make Tank Davis respect him? Shakur Stevenson being able to beat a Tank Davis with all his attributes, his boxing ability, his power. But then again, I see Shakur Stevenson's defensive wizardry being enough to beat Tank Davis. But can he sustain a perfect fight against Tank Davis? Shakur Stevenson, like, he will have to fight a perfect fight to defeat a Tank Davis. And I believe that Tank Davis has a lot of boxing ability to contribute to his power as well, and he doesn't throw a lot of combinations. So I feel like that's where Shakur Stevenson might be able to deal with the power, because he might be able to see the punches coming, and it won't be like overwhelming amount of combinations, like, swarming or coming, towards Shakur Stevenson. So I feel like in that sense, since he doesn't throw a lot of volume, Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson might be able to, like, counter and be effective at actually outlanding Tank Davis, depending on how he's able to, like, fight at angles and take away the power away from Tank Davis and fight in front of him, like he's done with the other opponents successfully. But I just feel like Tank Davis is a different animal. He's a different beast. He's not like all the other fighters that Shakur Stevenson has beaten. But to Shakur Stevenson's credit, he's faced De Los Santos, and he's beaten him, not in an impressive fashion, but he said he hurt his hand, but he was able to, like, avoid any punishment, but he didn't look impressive as far as, like, his output. So if he fights Tank Davis, will he fight like that, the way he fought against De Los Santos, and win that way? He could win that way, but will he fight better because he'll have both, if he has both of his hands intact? Because he hurts his hands a lot. He says that he could only fight two fights a year instead of three, based on his hands. And he was saying that he was going to talk to Floyd Mayweather about giving him advice on how to save his career from hurting his hands and fight more consistently. I believe that Trinidad is the perfect person to talk to, his father, because he wrapped his hands in a way where he won't hurt his hands because Felix Tito Trinidad is a power hitter. So his father used to wrap his hands a certain way, and like some people try to like wrongfully say that he illegally wrapped his hands, which is a lie. They just didn't allow him to wrap his hands like that in Madison Square Garden, but he was able to wrap his hands like that everywhere else. Felix Tito Trinidad. But the reason why his father wrapped his hands like that, Senor Tito Trinidad Senior, was because he was protecting his hands from getting damaged. For advice on protecting his hands, he should talk to Felix Tito Trinidad's father. Subscribe to Tony Also Knows Boxing. Subscribe to my channel. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be looking forward to the fights this weekend: Roachl Matias versus Vallenzuela, and Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach. That'll be interesting. But who do you think will win the fights in those two fights? And who do you have? And who do you think will win between Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis? Tony Also Knows Boxing.